So Daniel Dubois has the power and Fabio Wardley has the chaos. That is why this fight is so dangerous. Not because one man is perfect, it's because both men are flawed in ways that can end everything. Daniel Dubois can look world class and then uncertain. Wardley can lose minutes and then win in seconds. Think of this. Heavyweight boxing is not about safety. It is about who breaks first under pressure. So how good is Daniel Dubois? Daniel Dubois is he's like a strange study. Let me explain. Against Anthony Joshua, he looked sensational. He looked absolutely sensational. But then against Joe Joyce, he looked completely confused. Lost in pressure, lost in the moment, completely lost. And that is the problem. Because there are two versions of Daniel Dubois. One who can operate at the highest level. But the other one looks like he just doesn't want to be there. That is not just technical. That is psychological. His genius is his power, but his flaw is his uncertainty. So how good is Fabio Wardley? How good is he? Perhaps we don't know what his ceiling is. And in a way, that's what makes him dangerous. Let me give a reference point. Against Justice Hooney, he was being outboxed, outworked, out-hustled. Hooney was dominating that fight. He was hurting Wardley as well. Good jab, good ring IQ, etc. But then the knockout came. And it was a great knockout, right-hand counter trap. And then against David Adelaide, he just totally dominated. He was calmer, he was stronger. And he was really good in that fight. Against Parker, he passed the test. Not perfectly, not cleanly, but he passed it. Parker is a world-class fighter. Let's not get it twisted. Parker is a high-level fighter, former world champion. So I guess you can say that Wardley is not classic, he's not textbook, but he finds answers. That is the creativity. He survives the matrix and then he breaks it. So think of this. The dangerous fighter may only need 1 second. So how important is this fight? In a sense, or from the fighter's perspective, every fight matters. I would argue that the British heavyweight scene is bubbling. It's bubbling in every single way. So we can break that down into 3 phases. Phase 1, there is money. Phase 2, there is exposure. And phase 3, there is legacy, which I guess is like the byproduct. This is not just heavyweight punching. This is culture. This is economics. And ultimately, from the fans, there is expectation. The winner moves on. The winner enters the conversation. What is that conversation? That's the conversation of the Usyks, the Furies, the Joshuas, etc. And names are waiting. When victory, what does victory do? Well, victory opens doors. But those doors, they bring additional pressure. In one sense, in a figurative sense, you could call that the science of boxing. The ring is small, but the business is huge. Think of this. A fight is fists, but a career is timing. So let's address the fighter's psychology. So Fabio Wardley, he seems composed. And I'm talking about in the ring. Even when he is behind. So when he's behind in a fight, when he's being touched, when things are not going his way, he maintains his composure. It's a really good element. And that matters because you could argue that part of heavyweight boxing or boxing in general is fear management. Now, when we talk about Daniel Dubois, he can handle pressure. We have seen that. But paradoxically, he can also seem fragile, and the reference is the Joe Joyce fight. Not weak, because boxers aren't weak, but fragile. There is a difference. Weak means you cannot fight. Fragile means something cracks. And if I'm honest, I think Wardley is really going to test that. He will make Daniel Dubois think, really think, and he will put Daniel Dubois to the test because Fabio Wardley has shown consistently that he is very mentally strong. Think of this. The mind gets hit before the chin does first. So who is the puncher in this fight? I think everyone is talking about Fabio Wardley's power, and they should. I think the public see Fabio Wardley as the power puncher. And Fabio Wardley has shown this. There's evidence. He showed it emphatically against Fraser Clark, particularly in the rematch. That was devastating. But then he showed it again against Justice Hooney. He showed it against Nathan Gorman. He has power. But also Daniel Dubois has real power, not fake power, not hype power, but real heavyweight power. In other words, Daniel Dubois can end a fight in one punch, and Fabio Wardley can end a fight in one punch, and that is why this fight is so dangerous. Daniel Dubois has to be careful, there's no doubt about that, but Fabio Wardley has to be careful too, because if you walk onto one of those Daniel Dubois haymakers, it's lights out. It's as simple as that. Timing, you could argue, matters more than force. So is it a case of who lands first or who lands more effectively? Think of this. Power is not strength. Power is the delivery. So let's talk about the economics of the fight. And the question is this a big fight? And I would say that yes, it's a big fight, particularly within the British context, it's a big fight. You know, when we look at heavyweight boxing or boxing in general, it's not just boxing, it's capitalism, it's effective capitalism, it's a risk turned into money. But then there's the question is, who is the A-side in this fight? And to be honest with you, that's quite complicated. There's some complexity here. Wardley has the belt, he has the unbeaten record, and he has the momentum. So you can summarize that in like 3 phases. Phase 1, the belt. Phase 2, the unbeaten record. And phase 3, the momentum. But you can argue that Daniel Dubois has the bigger name. He has the Joshua win. He has the world level experience. That creates the economics, the financials, or the leverage. They are the perception. The winner here becomes very easy to sell. The loser becomes harder to explain. So think of this, the belt is gold, but the perception is the currency. So how does Dubois win? So Dubois definitely can win this fight. And if he does win this fight, he wins it with discipline, not emotion, not panic, discipline. He has to win the battle of the jab. So the jab must be sharp, it must be repeated. He needs to keep Wardley at range. And I would say to do that, he needs effective feints. He needs to use the feint to draw the lead and then to use the counter jab. And if Fabio reacts, then, you know, Dubois learns, he's downloading the information. And I think here the right-hand counter is really crucial. Daniel Dubois has a very good right-hand counter. I would say that Daniel Dubois has good counter-punching skills. Usyk has elite counter-punching skills, but Daniel Dubois has good counter-punching skills. So when Fabio steps in, when Fabio loads up, Daniel Dubois needs to punish him. And on the inside, and this is going to be an important part of the fight, when they get inside the pocket, as they say in boxing, I think Daniel Dubois, as he's done against Filip Hrgović, he needs to put his head on the chest, and then he needs to throw intelligently to the body, and then he needs to exit intelligently as well. Another important thing, he needs to take away Fabio Wardley's right hand, nullify the jab, win the jab battle, take away the right hand, head on the chest, you know, punching to the body, using punch creativity, and to me, he'll have a great chance of victory. So kind of think of this. Dubois does not need to be new, but he does need to be in control. So how does Fabio Wardley win? In a sense, or in a poetic sense, he wins by disturbing the system, not letting Dubois settle. If Fabio dominates the jab battle, then that sets up the backhand. And to be honest with you, if he's throwing and landing the backhand, that changes everything. Dubois needs rhythm, he needs position, and he needs belief. Fabio needs to interrupt all 3 of those mechanisms. If he can time the right hand through Dubois' jab, he can nullify Dubois' jab output, and that will be very important. Dubois is dangerous when he throws, but what happens if you can make him hesitate, then you can beat him in terms of the punch tempo, and then you can start to tap into his psychology. And the one thing Fabio Wardley does really well is that he sets traps. He sets effective traps, and he doesn't just set them at the beginning of the fight, he'll set them at the beginning of the fight, the middle of the fight, and the end of the fight. And I think he needs to work on those traps and just keep working on those traps, particularly late in the fight when he's more likely to land. And I think what would be important here is how to deal with the fight if it comes into the pocket, because Daniel Dubois is going to put his head on his chest and he's going to start throwing to the body really hard punches. So an effective counter-punching system is really needed, and he may need to punch through the phases if he's unable to get that one-punch knockout. So think of this. Fabio does not need perfection, but he needs that perfect moment. So in my verdict, or in my summary, I think this could be a great fight. It has all the elements, all the ingredients of being a great fight. Both men are not flawless. No heavyweight is flawless. But both men actually have certain flaws, but in different areas. You could make a case that Daniel Dubois is the cleaner boxer, the heavier technician, the better straight line puncher. When confident, Dubois looks world class. He looks like he can beat anyone. But when he is unsure, everything changes. The fleets slow down, the jab loses authority. You just notice the change. However, Wardley is different. He can lose rounds and still be alive. He can be outboxed and still be dangerous. For Dubois, he should look at this as an opportunity for redemption, a chance to prove himself again at the elite level, to prove that the Joe Joyce version is gone. For Wardley, this could be further confirmation about being that person, being the baddest man, that champion. If he wins, of course, the unbeaten record continues, the story gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And, you know, the opportunities, there are big opportunities for the winner. But you could make an argument that at this level, because boxing is entertainment, boxing is capitalism, winning is not enough. You need to win well. I guess my verdict is that Daniel Dubois, you can argue, has the better tools, but Wardley has the better crisis response. So if Dubois stays disciplined, in theory he can outbox Fabio. But if he doubts himself, Fabio drags him into the fire. Think of this. There is a cultural and economic gifts for the winner. And the ladder is tall, but the drop is even bigger. So that's the end of the video. Now I'm trying to build a digital boxing community. That means I'm interested in your comments, I'm interested in your questions, and I'm interested in your observations. Now, if you want to support the channel, simply like and subscribe. And if you want to watch more of this content, then click here or click here. As always, thanks for your time. It is much appreciated.